Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Today we'll be doing a hands-on session. So, my request is that please have your laptops on and a browser open. Any browser is fine. Just have a browser opened. Without laptops, it's going to be very difficult. If you're joining through your mobile phones, you won't be able to do anything. These are not mobile-driven apps. So, please have your laptops ready. We'll start exactly at 2 o'clock. Oh, okay. Yeah, IET says wait for 5 minutes. Okay, sure, sure. 2:05 will start. I thought so many people joined on time, so maybe we should not keep them waiting, is what I thought. Yeah, we'll wait for 5 minutes. No problem. Yeah, in the meantime, I think they can have their laptops on and open some browser and have it ready. So while the others join, so what we'll see today would be basics of Python. So I'll start off with content, whatever is required for our context. Oh, he says start. Okay. So whatever is required for our context. As such, Python is an ocean. So we won't be able to really cover, very exhaustively. So whatever is required, as and when I'll start covering that much. And, I think the first one or two sessions, people who already know Python or they know a little bit of coding. There could be somebody who doesn't know, much of coding. So please bear for the first one or two sessions that let us bring everybody on par. So in case you're, able to finish it a little quickly, please manage. And because so I don't know, how well versed people are with coding or with Python. Some people may have done coding quite some time back. They may not have got into coding. So I've seen this in, having different kinds of audience, right, from basic level to advanced level. So with that in mind, today's session will try to understand and will take some time for people to actually, use the code and do things, and you have to explore things on your own. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and I'll explain and I'll tell you what it is. And I'll also put the piece of code in the chat box, which you all must try and run it. And then I'll also give you some additional suggestions, which you have to try out on your own and then come up with it. So if you don't do coding on your own, there is no way that you're going to learn. If you're just taking it from what I'm teaching and what you're doing, that doesn't serve the purpose. Because after probably some 2 to 3 sessions, we'll have to start, I'll probably share some Excel sheets, and then each one of you will have to do some different exercises with the Excel sheets. So you'll start working independently. So the intention of having these hands-on sessions is just not for you to replicate. The first 2 sessions will be like that. You'll just type what I give you, and then you're going to run it. And if there are errors, you can share the screen and we can discuss. At that point of time, we'll also ask some of the participants, they're already in the advanced level, whether they know how to resolve it or not. So my sincere request is the first, at least today's session, please bear with us. If you already know, that's fine. You can add value to what we are doing in the class. But otherwise, let's bring everybody on par. So the intention in any class is we must not leave behind any participant. Everybody should go together as a stream till the end of the session. So in today's session, what we will see, what is relevant to us is creating what are called as data frames. Okay, so Python, how it works is for our requirement. Okay, so it could be, if you're looking at an AI and ML application, we saw in our previous session that data sets are very, very important. And the data set content would be very, very large. Okay. So when we start off, we will be looking at smaller data sets so that we know how the processing is being done. And at a later point of time, we'll start using little larger sized data sets. So first we need to understand how to use these data sets in Python. So the data sets may be available to you either as an Excel sheet or a CSV file. I think that you people are aware, right? Let me just put it in the chat box. Excel sheets or CSV file. So CSV is comma separated values. So two kinds of files. You can use it in multiple formats. We are not getting into that. Also, what is possible that there are times when let us say you have some small set of numbers and you want to create a data frame in Python by looking at these numbers. So that is what I'm going to show you today. Like if you have a set of numbers, how do you create this data frame? And what is this data frame? Data frame is a way of looking at these tables in Python. So any operation that you want to do on these Excel sheets or CSV files, we need to pull it into Python, and we have to create a data frame on which you can execute any of the operations that is possible in Python. So that is what a data frame is all about. And we have a whole lot of packages in Python. As we go, we'll start using whatever is required. And we would be importing these files. I'll tell you, okay, these packages, I'm going to show you what they are. And every time we run this code, it's always good for us to, import these files, because if we don't import, it will say the package was not found or the library was not found. Okay. And for most of our sessions, there are different environments in which you can actually run Python code. But we will do a simple browser based Python, so that you don't have to install it, in case for some who are beginners who haven't done much of coding, using some of the IDEs may not be very easy in the first instance. So we'll start off with a simple browser based platform. We'll see how it goes for 1 or 2 sessions, and if you're comfortable with it, we'll continue with that, because a lot of people felt browser based is very easy for them to manage. If at a later point of time, I'll also show you what you can install and how the IDE looks like, how you can run it in those environments. Even that we will see, but initially, at least the first 2 sessions, we will run it in a browser based platform. So I'll share the screen with all of you. One of the very simple browser based platforms that you can try. And I'll also share my screen. I'll explain some simple packages, how it is used. We'll try, and as we go along, whatever is possible in the 3 hours, we'll start doing them. So the agenda for today is to understand how to create data frames. That is, if you have a list of names, list of numbers, whatever it is, we'll see as we go by how to create these data frames. Data frames are tables in a manner that Python can actually understand and then do some operations on them. We'll also try to understand how we can get information about the data frames. So what is the meaning of information about the data frames? That is, which are all numbers, what kind of columns are there, are they text data, are they numerical data? So if you recollect what we saw in the previous session, some of them can be just categorical values. You also remember, right? So we said if you have strongly agree, disagree and all, we need to put them as numbers. So if you have words like, for example, names, okay, so how would you see them as data? What kind of data they are? Are they integers? Is it text data? We'll try to see that as well. And if you are asked to find some statistics about it, that is mean, standard deviation, how do we find? Also minimum values and maximum values. So whatever is possible, we'll try to see in today's session. And we have a whole lot of packages. So I am just writing in the chat box what we will see. So today's class, we will explore what is called as pandas. Okay. So that is the one which we will see today, making use of pandas as a package, how we are going to import it, and then how we are going to use it to create data frames. So there is one browser based platform. I'll just put it in the chat box, and then I'm also going to share it. So first I'll share the tab, and then I'll put, I think I'll explain what it is. So I hope you can all see this tab. Okay. So this is jupyter.org. I'll put it in the chat box. Don't worry, just have a look at this. Okay. So here what we'll do is we have what is called as Jupyter Notebook. So we'll go here, we'll click on this. You just watch this for now. and then I'll put it in the chat box. Okay, so when I click on this, so we'll get this particular tab. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing this, and I will put that link in the chat box. So you can just click on that link and that window will open. So please click on it. Again, I'll share my screen. So you'll land up on this tab, and when you scroll down, you'll get this. And when you click this, this will open. So I hope you are all on this page. So this will give you an introduction to what this Jupyter notebook is, and what all you can do. There are a whole lot of these things which are there. So you can read it later, okay, whatever is required. But for today's session, I'll explain and tell you what we are going to do. So on this, you will see this plus tab, very similar to what you get in your standard browser, right? If you want to open a new tab, you will get that. So here you can again see a plus sign. So what we'll do is to click on this plus sign. Okay. So when you come here, you can actually see different options that are available to us. Okay. When you click on that, this particular, so what that told you was on the right hand side, you can see that there is Python, you have different kernels which are available. Okay, there'll be Python 3, all of these things. So this time this option is Pyodide. So if you click on that, this happens to be your Python environment. I hope you're all on this page. And I'll also explain the menu items which are present here. Again, only whatever is relevant to us. Okay. So if you see file here, you can see a whole lot of options. So there is new. So you can also launch a new notebook. Okay. Currently, we'll see only what is relevant. And you can see here, whatever code you have typed, you can actually save the notebook as a particular name. You can also rename the notebook. You can also download it. You can also export it. So if you see here, you should be also, I think it's not displaying. Anyway, so you would be also able to save and export the notebook. So you have multiple options that you can, save and export it. So this is our first menu page. Then we have here, you can see here, this is the save button. Okay, or before that here. Okay. So this is a new launcher. This is the content of the folders. Okay, so whatever files you have. And here, this up arrow is to upload a file. So when we use a CSV file, there are two options for us. One is we will directly upload it here, which you will be able to see on the left hand side. So you on the left hand side, you can see some files, right? So there is all of these are Python files. So there is a .ipynb file. So you see a lot of these Python files. Okay, if you just click on the file here, if I just click on this, you will see two folders. One is called as data, the other is called as notebook. So if you click on data, you will see there are a few of these files that we have. So whatever I mentioned now, CSV file, there is already an inbuilt iris.csv. You remember in the previous class, I explained what that iris file is. So if you just double click on this, we will use this at a later point of time. It's already uploaded and available to us. Okay. So you can see the content of the iris file. It is in the CSV format. Whenever we want to use it in Python, I'm just going to scroll down. Generally, this will have 150 rows. So you can see there are 150 rows. So we can use this data in Python by converting the CSV file into a Python data frame. We'll do that later. And how do you get these CSV files here in the folder? We have this upload button. So when you click on this upload button, which I'm going to do, it will give you a selection from your desktop, okay, or whatever, from your laptop, sorry, need not be desktop. Wherever your file is stored, you can actually directly upload that file, either CSV or an Excel sheet, and you can use it in your Python code. Or if you have your file in your desktop or laptop, I'll show you if possible in today's session or maybe in the next session, how to read it by way of code directly into your Python program. So two ways of uploading your data frames, uploading your data sets, which is either in the form of an Excel sheet or in the form of a CSV file. There are two options. One is you can directly use the upload button here and upload whatever CSV or Excel sheet you want into this particular platform, or you can also use a piece of code, which I'm going to show you, to read it from your desktop and then convert it into a data frame. So there are two options of doing this. I hope till here you're okay. And if I go back to our new file that I have created, you can see here there is a save button, and this plus indicates you can create a new cell. So wherever we are going to type the code, that is called as a cell. So if you just click on plus, it will create a new cell. This is to cut it. So you can just cut it. This is copy and paste. This is to run the piece of code in that particular cell. This is to stop running the code. Okay, so this is, you can just stop it. So this is for us to know. Here you see there is code, and there is also another option which is markdown. So in markdown, whatever you type will appear as just text in the cell. Let's say you want to put some note or something. Okay, putting it as a comment in your code is different from putting some text in a cell itself. So if you type it as markdown, then you can put it as text in your cell. If you want to put comments in your Python code, there is a way of doing that, similar to what you would have already done in your any other coding language. So I'll just stop sharing this, and I hope till here you're all okay. Can we start off with typing some small piece of code to create the data frames? Are we all ready? Do you all have your browsers opened? Very good. So we'll start off with creating very, very simple data frames today. It's good for you to understand how it's done, because sometimes we just import and we don't even know what is happening in the background. So let's start doing that. Left side, you're not seeing any files, is it? It's okay if you're not seeing it. Probably you need to click on, there is a folder icon. I think you will have to click on the folder icon. Yeah, what is kernel? So kernel is that piece which is making your code run. Okay, so in kernel you have different, just 1 second. So on the right, okay, let me just share my screen again. Yeah, I'll just give me 1 second. I'll just share my screen and I'll show you. Yeah. So kernel is something that is actually going to make your code work. Okay. And in this, you remember we picked this, Python Pyodide we picked. So there are different varieties. So like I said, there is Python 3 and all of these things. They're all the ones which make your Python code run. So that's the kernel, that's the core, that's the crux of running your program. Without that, you can't run. So what happens is sometimes, let us say your program is not running. Okay. You will see here that no kernel. It will say no kernel, which means either you need to refresh or close this particular tab and then reopen a tab. Okay. Also, in the bottom, you see here Python, it is telling idle, which means there is no processing which is going on. The moment we put some code and we run it, you will see that it will indicate it is busy, which means that your code is being run. So kernel is something that is going to make your, it is going to run your code. So that is what is the kernel. You can have, like I said, Python 3, different varieties are available, variants are available. Any of them you can pick and run it. I hope that is clear. So what I'll do now is I will share my screen. Okay. I already have to save some time. I've already typed in some code and I have it ready, but I'm going to explain it and then I'm going to put the piece of code, and everyone you have to run it. Copy it, paste it and run it, or if you type and run, that's also okay with me. And after doing some of these examples, I'll start asking you to do something different from what I have already given you. So let me just share my tab to show you. So this is basically to create a data frame. And comments are put with a hash. Okay. That is, if you put a hash, I'm just putting it in the chat box. So if you put a hash and type anything, that is like a comment, which means that line will not run as a code. It will just be a comment. So let me just share my screen now. And what we'll see first is to create data frames by typing in numbers ourselves, not like borrowing from an Excel sheet or a CSV file. So I'll just share my tab. This browser may appear a little different, but the code will still remain the same. I'm just showing this. I hope the screen is visible. Let me just zoom it a little bit so you can see. And I will put the code in the chat box. Okay, so please listen first. Don't start typing and, just wait. So like I said, pandas is our package. Okay. And what happens is every time you want to make use of this package, you need to type the word pandas. Okay. So instead of just typing that pandas again and again, we shorten it and then we type it as PD. So you can just say import pandas and then you can start using this particular package. Wherever you want to use the package, you'll have to type it as pandas. But instead of that, the common way of doing it is we import it as some shortened name. So here we are calling it as PD, which is again a standard format, but you can call it as whatever you want. Okay. So when I say import pandas as PD, I am now telling I want this package. So with this package, I want to create a data frame. And you see here, df is the variable that I am assigning. You can assign it to any name. Generally, we call it as df because you cannot use the standard keywords in Python. Other than that, you can put your name also, no issues. So df is just shortened form of data frame, which we have called it. You can call it by any name. I'll also run it with some other name and I'm going to show it to you. What is this PD? PD is calling our pandas package. And why we are writing it as PD? Because we ourselves, we have shortened it as PD. Data frame, remember all the keywords are case sensitive. So you have to type it the way exactly it is. So D is capital and F is capital. So what this is doing now is it is calling our pandas package and it is creating a data frame. And in the brackets, we will put whatever is required to be present in the data frame. Here, what we've done, we have left it as empty intentionally to see what happens if you don't put any value within the brackets. And now I want to see the content of the data frame. So standard way is I'm going to ask it to print my data frame. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is to stop sharing my screen. I will put this code in the chat box, and please run it in your browser. So I'll also run it. I'll put it in the chat box first, and then I'll. Oh, I think I just pressed enter. Just give me 1 second. I'll put the other two lines as well. Let's do it a little slowly today, because once your foundation is good, then the rest of it we can do a good job. So even if you take a few minutes extra, it's okay. So you can just directly copy this in one of your cells. Okay, let me just do that. So I am going to share my screen, whatever I have put it in your chat box, and I've just run it. I hope the screen is visible. Again, let me just zoom it a little bit. I hope you can see what I have typed. Whatever I put in the chat box, I have actually typed, and what it is telling me is the data frame is empty, no columns, and we'll see what this index is. I hope you're all okay till here. I hope it's okay. So now what I'm going to do is to run a piece of code. Okay, let me just type it and show it to you, and then I'll run it. Let me just 1 second. Okay, great. So Raghavendra says yes. I'll just show you the next part, and I'm going to put it in the chat box. Okay, so see here, what we did first was to create an empty data frame. Okay, now look at the second piece of code. Again, don't copy, first listen, then I'll put it in the chat box. Okay, so again, what we are doing here, import pandas as PD. I'm going to import this particular pandas package. Then what I'm going to do, I want to create my own list. Okay, so I am going to now call it as data. You can call it again by any name. And I'm going to say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So these are the numbers which I want to put in my data frame. How to create this data frame? First is you need a name for your data frame. So let's call it as DF. How to initialize this? PD is our pandas package. There must be a dot after the package name. And what is our keyword? Keyword is data frame. D is capital, F is capital. From where you are creating the data frame? Our number list. What is the name of that number list? That is something we have called as data. And now in our data frame, we want to give a name for this column. So I will say columns, and then I will give as numbers. And here the syntax is very important. It is single quotes, and you see it is within the square bracket, and the entire parameters are given within the round bracket. So you have to follow this syntax. Don't worry if you don't remember it. I'll also show you a documentation after we are done with some part of this, where if you forget, you can go to that documentation and you can get help. You may not remember everything all the time. Don't worry. It is the same for all of us. After some days of practice, you'll automatically get used to it, or it will give you a prompt also. It will automatically put 2 quotation marks and things like that. So today's class, if you are finding it a little slow, don't bother. From the next class onwards, you will get used to it. And here you see, I said print df. Okay, here I'm just saying df. So when you say df, it will still print our numbers. I hope you are able to see all of these things. Okay. I'll put this in the chat box. Please run it. And then we will do some variations with whatever I am just showing. So I'll just stop sharing this and I'm going to put the piece of code in the chat box. Okay. One second. So first is to import, then what is the data that I'm going to list, and then I'm going to create this data frame, then I'm going to display the data frame. Tell me when you have done this, then I'll show some variations of what we have just done. Just like that, it is just to show you that there is another way of doing it. You'll just see now. You can still use print, no issues. Yeah, you can do it even without that. So that's all. We'll see later, when we open files and asking it to print into files. So then we'll see, what is the difference between just writing df and also using print. So probably after some 3 sessions, we'll see how to open files and close files. Then we will have a better relevance to the print word. Just let me know in the chat box if you have completed this part. Okay, see, data in our code, no? So I have a question. Yeah, I'll just put the. So data is a file that we created. Okay, it is a list of numbers. It has nothing to do with any keyword in Python. It is something that we created. Data is a list of numbers that we wrote. Data frame is, it's a table on which you can operate in Python. Data is just that list of numbers that we gave. Data frame is something that gets operated in Python. So I hope Kumud understood difference between data and data frame. Okay, so I'll change now. I'll share the tab. Yeah, so I'll just share the tab. What I'll do is I'll just change, instead of data, I'll just put my name. Okay, and we'll see what happens. So I'll just show you that. Let me share the tab now. Okay, so I hope the tab is visible to you. So I'll just change this. Okay, so I'll call it as GP1. And here also I have to change, right? So whichever is my data that I created, so it will still run, but what is happening now is it will get assigned to df itself. Okay, it will get assigned to df itself. So I'll run this. It will still run, you see, it will still run and it will still give you the same display. Only thing is, instead of calling it as data, data was something, it is just a variable name. Whatever you want, you can type. So now what I'm going to do is, see, you have 6 digits, right? So I am going to increase this. Okay, I'll say 70. You can also do the same thing if you are looking at what I'm typing. 100, 110, 120, something like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is again run it. Okay, so what I did, I added more numbers, okay, and then I ran the code again. So what you're seeing is, what you see on the left hand side is something that you didn't type, but Python has added it on its own. These are called as indices. So we will have this as an index which gets created automatically. We will see how you can also change the name of this index. And at a later point of time, we'll also need to use this index to locate where a particular number is or where some name is. We'll see that later. But this is something which you didn't type, but it just got automatically generated. Okay. And you can see this index starts from 0 to 11. So we have 12 numbers, but it starts from 0 to 11. Now, what happens is, if you have, let us say, 1000 or 2000 data, and you want to see, let us say, only the first 5 and the last 5, or first 10 and last 10, as an example, how to do that? So have a look at the code that I'm typing. All you have to do is to type df dot head. Okay, if you type df dot head and run it, it will give you only the first 5 elements. So you can see here, I'll put it in the chat box. First, have a look at what I'm typing. So if you type df.head, you will get only the first 5 elements. If I type 6 within the brackets, it will give you the first 6 numbers. Instead of head, if you type df.tail as I'm typing, in between how to pick, I'll show that later. Okay, I'll show that later. You may ask from 10th row to 12th row how to pick. I'm going to show that, but not in today's class. I'm going to show that later. For that, we need to do some other basics. We'll finish everything today as much as possible. We'll see those things in the next class. So when I run this, when I say df.tail and there is no number inside the brackets, it will show you the last 5 elements. Okay, df.head will give you the first 5. df.tail will give you the last 5. If you want anything other than 5, you need to put the number within the brackets. So let me just stop sharing this and put this in the chat box. I want all of you to try. Very good. Okay, Vishwanath says done. Please try, all of you. Okay, great. So what we'll do now is to create multiple columns. Okay, we've created only one column. We'll have to create multiple columns. So again, I'm going to show that to you. So this can be done in multiple ways. We'll also see the multiple ways in which you can put different columns. So the first method, I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can see the screen. So what we are trying to do here is data. Again, I can just say, let me just change this. I'll call it as name list. Okay. Let me just change this as well. And what I'll also do is instead of writing it as df, let me again just change this. I'll call it as name one. I'll again call this as name one. Okay. So what we are doing here is import pandas as PD. Again, importing that. I'm creating a name list. So you can see now I have name and age. You can write whatever name and age you want. And you see the format, please. I am assigning this. So this is my data set. Okay. This is my data set. This is my data set, and this is the data frame that I'm trying to create. So please understand we have two things here. One some oh sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, I just didn't share it. I'm very sorry. Yeah. So you have now import pandas as PD. Okay. And name list. So I am giving now name and age. Okay, name and age. So everything is within the square brackets. And I'm assigning this to a data frame which I have called as name one. So the reason why I'm using these different things is you can assign it to anything you want just for that. But standard is we call it as df. If you have multiple things, you can say df underscore name or whatever. I'll show that as well. And what is our notation? PD, because I've imported that package as PD. Data frame is my Python keyword. From where am I getting this data? This is the list that I created. I called it as name underscore list. And I called the columns as name and age. And then I'm going to print my data frame. So let me just run this. So you can see here, whatever you created is now visible. Okay. So let me just put this in the chat box. I'm just putting it in the chat box. So you can, yeah. So I put it in the chat box, importing your package, then the data that you are creating, assigning it to a data frame. You're creating this data frame, and then you're trying to print the data frame. So you can now, I'm going to put some more additions to this. What else you can do? You can also create multiple rows. Okay, make it some 6 or 10 rows and try df.head and df.tail. It will display both the columns. Okay, it will display both the columns. I'll also show you another way of creating a similar data frame. Just give me 1 second. You keep trying that. I'll show you another way of doing that. Same thing. I'll just share my screen, where you can initialize as two different arrays. Here you wrote them next to each other, right? So I'll just show you. So you can see here, we had another instruction which said, put the columns here, So I just changed that now. You have name, you are assigning with some elements, age you are assigning with some elements, then you are creating the data frame. This is another way of doing it. Let me also put this in the chat box. Okay, and just yeah, so I put it in the chat box. You can try this as well. So please try that. What I'm going to show next is how to change the names of the indices. I'm going to show that. So I'm just sharing my screen. Whatever you saw as 0, 1, 2, 3, I'll just change that. I hope the screen is visible to you. I'll put it in the chat box, but just have a look at this. Import the package. Then again, I'm creating the name list as name and marks. Whatever you want to create, you can create. And then I am assigning it to some data frame, which I have called as df underscore name. And it is now changing the index. You see, which used to come as 0, 1, 2, 3. Now I have changed it to rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4. Whatever you want, you can change it. Let me just put this in the chat box. Okay. Just copy this. Are you all able to do that? Changing the index name. Okay, great. I hope all of you are able to complete this. Okay, yeah, I can see a couple of yes in the chat box. Good, great. I hope you're all enjoying this part. Are you all enjoying doing this? So now I'm not going to explain the next piece of code. I want you to try it out and tell me what is happening, because this is very important for us when we actually get to the applications. So let me just put this piece of code. Just 1 second. I'm just I'm putting this piece of code here. I want you to try this and tell me what's going on. It shows one of our points of discussion in the previous session. I don't know how many of you remember, but I'm going to discuss that now. Try doing this and tell me what's going on. What output you got and what do you interpret? How do you interpret that? Yeah, replacing non-available data with NaN for a given parameter. Yes. So NaN stands for not a number. So I'm just putting it in the chat box. So it doesn't know what it should do because there was, so you see in the first part, there are only two elements, right? B and C. In the next one, there is A, B, C. So it really doesn't know what it should do. And I'll also put one modification which I want you to try. So that second line which says data is equal to something, just change that line. I'm going to put another line, try this and see what is the variation. You will be able to see how it changes. Okay, just the second line you change. I put it in the chat box now. Just replace the previous one with this. Rest and all you keep it as the same. Tell me what you see. Yeah, so correct. Sequencing has changed. Yeah. So what happened in the first time, because you wrote BC and the second row had ABC, it wrote BC first and then it wrote A. For the next one, since you swapped, it became ABC and BC. How A is a float? Yeah, we didn't specify anything, right? We'll see that next. We will be doing that. Okay, how A is a float. So it will just take it as default. So certain things, if you don't specify, we will now see what is the data type. Good question. We will specify all of those things, later, whether it should be floating point or an integer. It just takes, that's the default representation. Okay. Yeah, a good question. So let us now see how to get information, or before that, yeah. We will study a little bit on the data types later. So there is one more thing which I wanted to show. Yeah. So I'll also show you now where you can have two different kinds of data frames, or rather two different sets of data. Okay, so just give me a second. I'm going to put that in the chat box. Try this as well. So I'm going to put this in the chat box and you can tell me what you get. Yeah, try this one, which I have put now in the chat box. If any of you are not able to run, just let me know. I'll share it. I thought it's good for you to try, but I'll also share the screen. If any of you cannot run it, just let me know. Okay, I see some responses. Yeah. So what do you observe? So you can see there is a backslash n, right? You can see that. So it is actually pushing it to the next line. I hope that was the one thing which I wanted you people to observe. So that I think you've seen, right? There will be one data frame and then there will be another data frame. I think so far I hope you've all understood some parts of how to create a data frame and what it is all about. Now what we shall do is to try whatever. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to put one line of code, okay, in the chat box, and I'm just going to explain it what it is. So the first, I have put df.info. Okay, I'm going to now share my screen. So df.info, you can see here, I hope. So what this will give you is which is the column that exists, what are the data types, okay, what are the data types, and how many values are non-null values, okay, data type. And you can also see here what are the data types, how many of these data types are there. So this df is the data frame that you have created, okay. So you must give whatever name you have given to the data frame. Dot info is our keyword, that is the syntax from our Python program. Df is any of your data frames. Dot info is something that we have, that is the Python keyword. Df is what you have created, info is from Python. So please try that for any of the data frames that you have created. I am going to share my screen again and show you what I have got. So you can also be sure. So this is df.info and it will tell you what are the number of columns, everything, all the information, how many non-null, what is floating, what is the integer, everything, whatever is in your own data frame, it will tell you. There is one more function which we will try, which I'm scrolling now. That is df.describe. Okay. Again, whatever is the data frame you have created, please use that name. Dot describe is our Python function. Okay. In that, when you run this particular line, you will get the total count, the average, standard deviation, minimum value, and maximum value. Along with that, you will also see 25%, 50%, and 75%. These are all the quartiles that you get, which we generally don't use for the common statistics that we do. But if you have done some work in probability and distribution, you'll be able to relate this. But currently, for our relevance, we are not going to use them. But it's good for us to know what is the total count in the data frame, the average value, standard deviation, minimum value, and maximum value. Okay, so these are the values that you will get. based on whatever data frame that you are using. So I'll just put that as well in the chat box. So if you have done this much, now what I want you to do, I'm going to put it in the chat box. Okay. I want you to, you can use the same data frame that you've already created. Okay. Create a data frame with at least 5 columns of your choice. Okay. With at least, yes, describe will consider the most recent DF. Yes. Whatever it is. That is why it is good for you to label it with different names. So DF is just the name that I gave. If you have name underscore list or whatever it is, yes, absolutely. It will be, yes. It is the, I'm putting it in the chat box, most recent DF. Absolutely. Because all of your DFs would have got overwritten. That's why it's always good to call them as DF 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, now I'm just putting a small exercise which I want all of you to try. Okay, create a data frame with at least 5 columns, at least 5 columns, and at least 10 rows or 6 rows. We will not waste so much time. Okay, at least 6 rows. Okay, also uh, leave some elements blank so that I want to see the NaN being displayed. Leave some elements blank. So that is have some NaN representations in your data frame. There is a reason for doing this. So what I have put is create a data frame with at least 5 columns and at least 6 rows. Okay. Also leave some elements blank, that is have some NaN representations in your data frame. Why am I asking you to do this? Because if you recollect what we discussed in the previous class, let us say somebody is collecting data, they would have by mistake or by typographical errors missed out some numbers. If you remember, we said when you are using these data sets to train your AI models, you need to do data cleaning, right? So what we are going to learn next is how to do this kind of data cleaning. What is the meaning of data cleaning? The first thing is, if there are any such values, first I have to identify these values. Once I identify the values, then I must choose whether I want to discard them or whether I want to fill them. Okay, so we are going to try that part of it now. So please create a data frame with at least 5 columns. So as an example, you can just say name, age, maybe height, weight, and whatever, income or something like that. You know, any 5 columns you can create, whatever is your choice. And then some 6 rows you can create, whatever, you know, Tom, Jim, Jill, anything that you want. Create a data frame. Once you have done that, then we will run a line of code to check if there are any null elements in the data frame. So that is the intention. So why am I asking you to create the data frame? It is as good as you creating any data set. Let's say you are the scientist or you are the researcher and you have been asked to collect all the data. Maybe for some reason, typing error or something, you have missed out some data. We will see now how to identify that. Done? Are you able to create the data frame? Done. Very good. So great. So I think we have one or two people who are able to complete that. So what I want you to do next is, we have a function. Okay, I'm going to run it and I'm also going to show it to you to find out if there are null values in your data set. So let's explore that particular function. I'm going to put it in the chat box. You can run it and then I'll also show you what happens. Okay. And you must use the same name of your data frame, whatever you have used. So I'm just typing it in the chat box. So if you have created your data frame, whatever is the name of your data frame, use that. Dot is null. Okay, so that is your keyword in Python. So use that and then run it and you will see a display. I'm going to share my screen with the data set that I have and I'm going to explain it. However, just try doing that. Expression after when you typed df dot is null, or when did you get this error, Raghavendra? Can you share your screen? I can see what is happening. Please share your screen. Some brackets or something is missing, I think. Or put your code in the chat box. If you can share your screen, that would be great. But if you don't have that option, put the code in the chat box so I can just check. And I'll also show you how to sort errors. Okay, so let's say you end up in some. Okay, yeah, I'll just check this. Let me see. Just hold on. Oh, I think in the last one, df1 equal to, I can see one comma. I think that's why. Just hold on. Yeah, I'm just checking. Just give me a second. I'm just checking the error. Yeah, your syntax is wrong. I'll just put the correct syntax in the chat box. The syntax is wrong. That's why that colon it's showing. See, if you see, I'll just share my screen. Whatever Raghavendra has put, I'll just show you how to debug the error. Also, I'll just show you. Just hold on. Let me just share the screen. It will show you where is the error. Okay, so let me just So I hope the screen is visible. So this is the code that Raghavendra put. So let me again zoom this in. So if you see here, it is telling us where is the error. So you can see expression expected after dictionary key and colon. Okay. So what has happened is, Raghavendra, you can just try putting a number here. Okay. Or remove that comma. Okay. Just remove that comma. Then it will take that first element as blank. Just check that out. Put a number here and check. Some contents is not coming in yet. Oh, okay. Yeah, very good. So I think there's one person who says it's showing true for NAN. Yeah, okay.
No, ma'am. Still that error is there after putting the number.
Oh, okay. Is it? Yeah, I'll just check. Just give me 1 second. I'll just check. I think that colon and the flower bracket is an issue. Just give me a second. I'll check. Okay, Mamta, what is your query? Mamata has a query. Can you put it in the chat box or you can unmute and speak?
Can sharing of the screen be enabled, ma'am, so that it will be?
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if the host is here. I can't enable it. It's not, I can't give you permission. So I don't think. Yeah, put the code, Mamta. I'll have a look at it. So what's happening, Mamta? Is it throwing an error or something? What's the error? Okay, Raghavendra is presenting. Okay, yeah. So I showed it. Yeah, I saw this thing. I have to just see. I think that syntax is a problem. Either the flower bracket or square bracket, something is missing there. Probably. I'll just check, Raghavendra. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll just sort this and I'll check it. Can you zoom it a little bit? I have the code anyway. Can you zoom it a little bit? See, it is showing you where the error is. The error is there in that particular thing. So that flower bracket or square bracket, something is not okay. So I'll have to just check and get back to you. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll check and get back to you. Just give me a minute. It says data is not of the same size. Why? In such cases, we don't get it filled with NAN. I'll have to see. Just give me 1 second, Mamta. Okay. What I can do is, I think I can just copy these codes, sort them, and send it across after correction. What is going wrong? Let me just run this. Mamta's code I'm trying to run.
Ma'am, if you see, I got the output. If I am including any NAN values, no, then only I'm getting that errors. If
Yeah,
I
yeah.
if I have given all the values, then I'm not getting the errors and the code is running fine.
Yeah, that is what I also suggested, right? So what happens is, so what happens in different forms of syntax, because we would have put the comma, that is what it is telling. It expects a number. In yours, that is what it is telling, right? Expression expected after the dictionary key. So we created our data frames using different methods, right? So in some methods, if there is no number before the comma, it expects a number. In the other format, it didn't expect. So that is what is happening with Mamta also. In one of the formats, I'll just put that format. Okay, so just 1 second. So in some of the formats, it doesn't expect. In some of the formats, it expects. So I'll just put that one thing where we created that NAN, no? Yeah, I'll just put that format. So in this format, there was no error. It's, if there is any number that is not present, it automatically took that number. So what you are doing here, you are listing the columns separately. Okay. So there you are giving, but in any case, I have both the this thing codes. I'll just check once and I'll get back to you. Okay. So I'll just verify. I have both the Mamta's code and Raghavendra's code. So whether NAN is expected or not, I mean, so there any number is expected or not, I'll just check and I'll get back to you on that. So that I'll not keep the others waiting. And now what you can do then is, you had your earlier file with NAN, right? There was one more data frame you created with an NAN, isn't it? If you have that file or that data frame, you can try in that so that we will not spend too much of time. I'll anyway sort your errors.
Ma'am,
Just
I think I got it. Actually, we should not define the column name also. Then only we are
that's
getting the NAN.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it is the second piece of code which I put just now, if you define the column names in the second row, then that is what some of the syntaxes it will accept, some of the syntaxes it is not accepting. Okay. So that's how it is. So I put that other code here. If you use this way, there it will not throw any error. So in some of the cases, it will expect something before the comma, before the semicolon, all of these things. So anyway, I didn't know what you would have used. So that's okay. You know, errors are the ways for us to learn. That's not a thing. And for us also, every time we teach, we see different errors. So in the previous session, we wouldn't have seen this kind of error. So for us also, debugging is fun only, but it will take some time, but that's okay. So I think Mamta, you are also having the same problem because you are defining the column along with the numbers. So if you use this code which I have put here, where you define the column names not along with your data list, then it will not throw an error. Okay. Anyway, you can try that. Yeah. Okay. So I want you to try the null part of it now. So df dot is null. For this, you must have a null element in your data frame. You must have a data frame which has at least one or two null elements. Use this function df dot is null. You can use it in your previous data frame also. I will now show you how it looks like. Okay, just give me. So when I'll just share my screen. So I have some data frame, okay, which has some elements. When you use this function is null, okay, is null. So what it does is, wherever there is a null value, it will give it as true. I think you can see it here. I'm highlighting it. Let me just increase the font size. So wherever there is a null value, okay, your NAN, right? Wherever there is this NAN, it will show it as true. All the other places, it will show as false. Okay, so that is how it is going to be. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that if there are null values in your data set, which we will see later, we will start using an Excel file. Nowhere we are going to create data frames in Python itself. This is just an exercise for you to do. But generally, we'll have an Excel sheet or a CSV file, which we will import and then we are going to run it. So in such cases, we will be able to identify where are the null values. Okay. So if you have done it, it is good. So the next thing, it's showing true at the wrong place. I don't think so. Not possible, Raghavendra. Check once in your data frame itself. That it will not do. It is not possible. Let's see. Zoom it a little bit. Which is this frame? DF only. No. It is ABC. So your previous file it is, not the current one. Now it should be okay, no? Use the current data frame, only that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Got it? Okay, okay, great. So please remember to use the proper names of your data frames. Yeah, it will show the correct value. Okay. So people, are you all okay till here? Was it good? Did you all enjoy doing it? I hope so. Okay, so we are almost at 3:30. You can take a quick 10-minute break and come back. Okay, so we'll continue this session. You can take a very quick 10-minute break and come back. Okay, yeah, great. Okay, we are seeing something. Okay, didn't enter. Yeah, you will. I'm just seeing. Yeah, that's what. So it's dependent on how we create the data frames. That's what we discussed, right? So yeah, he's already put correction in Mamta's code. That's fine. Yeah. So we said columns must be given in the separate row, right? So only then the NaN part will work. Okay. Yeah. Fine. That's great. So good for us. We have a very nice participation, and I think let's just get going now with what we saw. So, like I said, let's say we have these Excel sheets with a lot of numbers which are missing. Okay. So, first thing is we've now identified where these numbers are not present. But then what should you do next? Whether you should fill it with something, or so we discussed this in the last session. With what can we fill it? Okay, so there are multiple ways of doing it. You can fill it with the average value, you can fill it with, let's say, a minimum value, you can fill it with a maximum value, or you can fill it, let's say, the number. Okay, for example, number of legs that the animal has got is 4, right? So you know very well you have to fill it with 4. So you can just fill all of these not a numbers in this particular column with exactly 4. So we have another function now which is called as fill NA. What you have done now is to find out where are your null values. Now I want to fill the null values. How to fill? Okay, so I'll just put the function here and I'll show you how it works. Just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I'll put it in the chat box. Okay, I'll also show you some documentation before I put it. And I'll also show you where you can get solutions for your errors. Okay, just 1 second. I'm just putting that in the chat box. So I put it in the chat box. So let me just, okay, before we get on to the next part of it, let me just also explain. So what we've been doing now is we've created a data frame and we have started operating on this data frame itself, right? So our data frame itself is getting modified. But let's say you want to retain this original data frame that you have created, and whatever modifications you're trying to make, you want to assign it to another data frame. As an example, we have now identified all the null values. Now you want to replace the null value. So I have just put a code here which says df.fillNA. Okay, fill NA is wherever you have these not a number. I've just given some number 2000. You can give whatever number you want first, and then we'll also see what else we can use to fill that part. Okay, just hold on. And then what is happening now is whenever you put this in place is equal to true, what happens is your df, that is the data frame that you created, in that data frame itself all the values are going to be replaced. Okay, so I want you to try this first. Okay, whatever is your data frame, you say df.fillNA, and you can put some number, whatever is relevant to you. We'll fill it with other values. This is just a starting point for us. Type whatever number you want. As an example, when I said all animals have 4 legs, that is known to us, right? So now what is happening is, how does it decide which column it has to replace, right? So we have not put anything to tell. which column it has to replace. So I am now going to put one more line of code. What to fill, how to fill. Okay, so I've just given a sample now. DF, that is your original data frame. Here I've just put calories, that is the column name. Whatever is a column name, you can choose. Fill NA, wherever there is not a number, fill it with some number, whatever you want to put. In place is equal to true. So whenever we say it is in place is equal to true, it is going to replace in that particular data frame. Okay, you can just try this. Whatever df you have and any column wherever you have put the not a number, whatever column you have, in that you can put in place is equal to true and just check. So whenever you say in place is equal to true, like I said, it changes in your original data frame. So generally what we prefer to do is assign your original data frame to something else. I'll teach you how to do that. Just try this. Sorry, ask it to also display. Okay, so you just say df and ask it to display. So you will know whether it has replaced or not. What I'll also show you now is where you can get help for your documentation. See, what happens is we may not remember all of these things. So I teach multiple programming languages. I teach R, I teach MATLAB, I teach Python. So, there are times when we also get mixed up. Where is the single quote, where is the double quote, square bracket? There are times when we get mixed up. So there is always generally a documentation which we make use of to confirm whenever we think that we could be making mistakes. So I'll just share with you errors, is it? Okay, what errors? Just share your screen. Let's see what errors. Just share your screen, Raghavendra. Can you just zoom it a little bit? I'll just zoom mine as well. I can't. Where is your data frame? First, before this, just ask it to display the data frame, no? Comment it and run it. I think it's doing it now, yeah. No. No, Raghavendra, just do one thing. This fill, you comment that fill part of it. First, ask it to display. Just comment that. Yeah, now it's displaying, right? So it's displaying. Where is that not a number in that fifth thing? Okay. Income. Just put your code in the chat box. Let me see. It should be fill NA. A chat box.
Well, the data frame must be renamed as DF1.
Yeah, that's what it is.
DF1, 1 is missing there.
Yeah, put
DF1
DF1.
income.
Yeah, put DF1. It's your original data frame, right? Raghavendra, just change that. Run it now. Yeah, it's correct. No, now it's running. It's running, isn't it? It's replaced, no? No, it's not replaced. Run it again. I can still see the NAN. Running? No, errors.
It coming proper, 60,000.
Okay, yeah. That's what. Yeah, it's replaced. Oh, that column I didn't check. Okay, yeah. Column it's replaced. Yeah. So just be careful with your. Yeah, it's working very good. So now you know how to replace, right? So whenever you have a number, so I'll just share with you some documentation. Very simple where you can look for help. Let me do that before we go to the next part. Okay. So there is a total pandas documentation itself. Okay, so you can see here, I'm showing the same thing. Okay, pandas.dataframe.fill NA. What all you want to fill, you can fill. Okay, so in place is equal to true, I said, right? So value, whatever value you want to put. So in the value, here we wrote some 20,000, 30,000, whatever it is. You can also put the average time today itself. We can start doing that. So you can write it with a mean value or maximum value, whatever it is. So this is one documentation. I'll put this link in the chat box. And you can see here how he has replaced it with different values. So let me just put this. So in case you want some help, you can always go to the Python documentation. Also, let us say it's you have errors which throw up. So how do you find out how to sort the errors? I don't know if you have you heard of Stack Overflow? Yeah, so Stack Overflow is a very good place for you to sort for your error. So every time you may not know, right, what is the error, why it has occurred. So I'll just share that part also with you. So for the same relevant discussion we are having, that is how to replace NaN values. So I'll just give me 1 second. So I'm just typing that same thing, whatever I put in the chat box. Yeah, you can fill anyway, row wise, column wise, anyway. See, what we did now was a very crude way of creating a data frame. Generally, we don't create like the way I explained to you. It was only for you to get experience. You can definitely fill row wise, whatever it is. You're only keeping one element with no number, right? So it doesn't matter row wise or whatever it is. But generally, we don't sit and put numbers in Python. Okay, we always create it in another data sheet, like an Excel sheet or a CSV file. That is how generally data sets are available to us. And then we will import the data file into Python, and then we are going to read it. But otherwise, you can fill it in any way, row or column wise. Okay. So what I'll show you now for people who don't know about Stack Overflow. So what I'm going to do now is how to get into Stack Overflow for the error that you have got. Okay, so just give me 1 second. I'll show you one error. Okay, I'll show you one error, and we will use that error to check with Stack Overflow. I'm just sharing my tab. So I hope you can see the screen. There's also some error. Okay. So value error says all arrays must be of the same length. So what we generally do, let us say you're getting some error like this. We copy the error. So you can see I'm just copying it. Okay. Copy this. And what we again generally do, I'll share another tab. We go to Google search. Okay. So I type in, let me just share my screen. So very quickly, I'll show you how to go to Stack Overflow. And so I'm here now. So I just copied that error and I pasted it. So what happens now is generally the very first thing which pops up is your Stack Overflow. So if people have not seen it, you can see here stackoverflow.com. So if I click on this, let me just zoom this up for people who don't know, if you have not used it. If you have used it, of course, this is redundant. So Stack Overflow is a very beautiful place. You can get a lot of support. So whatever error was there, it says value error, arrays must be all of the same length. So you will get a whole lot of suggestions, okay? And more, there are times when you will see there will be a green tick mark or there will be multiple codes that will be given to you. You can just pick one or two among them, and sometimes, like I said, there will be a green tick mark, which generally there will be some person who says I've used this and it has worked and things like that. So Stack Overflow is a very beautiful place. Wherever, whenever you have some errors or something, you can directly go there, browse, and you can sort your errors. So this is because we don't know what kind of errors will pop up and things like that. So are you all okay till here that we are able to check the not a number and we are able to fill it with some number. Now let's see how to fill it with average of a particular column. Okay, so just hold on. Let me just put it in the chat box. Just give me 1 second. I'm just closing all my multiple tabs. So I'll just put that code in Python. Just 1 second. There is a dot mean. Okay, so dot. You can try this. I haven't put the data frame mean. So I put it there. So there is a dot mean function. But how will you use it for your particular column? Okay. Let me just put that. So how will you put your column? So if you have df, okay, if whatever df is your this thing, so df, you open your square brackets. I'm just typing it. So whatever, let's say some income was there, no? So income, close your square brackets. Very similar to the other ones, how you identify your column. Dot mem. I'm just putting it. I've just given you one example. So if a particular column you're trying to fill with the average of that particular column, you can actually type like this, whatever is your column name. And like I said, since whenever you replace, you're going to replace it in the original data frame, which you don't want. You want to keep your original data frame as it is. Then what you should do, you can assign it to another data frame like this. I'm typing it. So you can say, I put it. df underscore new or df underscore income or whatever it is, okay, equal to this, df dot income, sorry, df brackets income dot mean, whatever, fill na, all of those things you can do and assign it to another new data frame. So try doing that as well. Yeah, I'm not speaking. I just muted myself. There is some repair work going on next to my house, so there's too much of noise, so I just muted myself. I'm not speaking. So I'm going to put one more function in the chat box now. That is, if you want to drop any column, let us say you have some 200 columns in your data frame and you want to remove some of the columns because you don't want to use them in your current application. So there is a df dot drop. Okay, so I'm putting that code in the chat box. So df dot drop is the function. Okay, a is your column. I'm going to put that in. I think I'll just click that. Yeah. So, and in place equal to true implies you're operating on your current data frame. Axis equal to 1 implies you're dropping the column and not the row. Putting that also. So if you want to drop any column, so A is the name of a column, whatever you want to just drop it. You can try both of them. Please assign it to another data frame all the time so that your original data frame will remain as it is. Okay. Are you all okay till here? Replacing with the mean, filling with the mean, and trying to drop a column. Maybe I'll just share my tab and show you how the dropping of the column works. Let me just do that. I'll just share the screen. Are you able to do it? Okay, then good. If you're able to just finish that, you can just drop the columns. No. 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 It will drop any column with that name. Not because NaN is there. If NaN is there or not there, it doesn't matter. It is just dropping a column. It has nothing to do with NaN. I'm just telling you how to remove a particular column. No.
Ma'am, then what is that in place equals true?
Yeah, so what I'm saying, in place equal to true means your data frame name is df, right? It is in df itself. Yeah, it will drop the column A. So that's what. So let us say you have your original data frame as df. If you say in place equal to true, it will drop in that particular file itself, in that particular data frame itself. If you put in place equal to false, then you have to assign it to another data frame. So it will not be in your original data frame. So in place equal to true, wherever you use that particular word, I think we used it earlier also, right? Fill NA, if I am right. See, if you look at the fill NA also, when you say in place equal to true, it will replace in your original data frame. So let us say you want to keep your original data frame as it is. Sometimes what happens, you don't want to change your original data, right? You want to modify and store it as another data frame. So at that point of time, in place equal to false, and then we will assign it to another data frame. So that exercise we will do a little later. You know, what will happen if you put in place equal to false? How do you use that? That we will do. Okay. In place equal to true implies in that same original data frame, everything is going to be replaced or whatever, replaced or dropped or whatever it is. So your original data frame is getting disturbed, which we don't want to see. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So are you all okay till here? We'll see one more package, syntax error, invalid syntax. So syntax error, is it? Maybe some bracket or comma is missing. Can you put your code in the chat box or share your screen? Mr. Ashok Mukherjee, you can put your code in the chat box or share your screen. We'll see what's the error. Oh, don't type that whole thing. No, only that first part you type. Don't type the second row, second line. Only this much you type. And you have to type, so instead of A is any column, whatever is your column, any column in your data frame. I just gave you a sample. If you don't have A as the column name, then it will throw an error. Please check your data frame and put the appropriate column name. Okay, yeah. Are you all okay to learn one more package now? Some part of pandas we've done, not everything, but we'll keep expanding it. We'll use one more package, matplotlib, which can help us to draw graphs. Okay, we'll need all of these things when we do our actual AIML application. So this is called as matplotlib. It will help us to draw a whole lot of graphs like bar chart, pie chart, stacked graphs, a lot of these graphs. So we'll just see an introduction to graphs today. So what I'm going to show you now is how to import this package. Again, similar to pandas as PD, we will also import this. Just give me 1 second. I'll run the code and I'll show you. Just 1 second. And then I'll put it in the chat box. One second. It's not running. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. I'll show the code and then I'll put it in the chat box. So matplot, yeah, I'm going to share. I was just running it. I'm going to share. So matplotlib is another package which helps us to draw multiple graphs. So we'll see some samples today. I'm going to share the screen. So you can see here, just as we did our import pandas as PD, we will import matplotlib.pyplot. So that's the entire package as PLT. Okay. So wherever we want to use the package, I'll explain the code and then I'll put it in the chat box. So some numbers, okay, so don't worry too much about what's the country name and what's the number. This is an example to show you how to plot the graph. So again, we have now different countries and some GDP values that we have, okay. We want to plot a bar chart. So you can see here how the bar chart actually looks like, okay. And then what is the function? So PLT is our package that we have imported, right? So that is our matplotlib. PLT dot, so this is a bar chart. So this is bar, which is our function in Python. What bar chart do you want to plot? What should be on the x-axis and what should be on the y-axis? So that is the parameters that you're going to pass within your brackets. Whatever title you want to give. So dot title is our Python keyword, and whatever is the title, you have to put it. What is your X label? What is your Y label? And then you are expecting the graph to be displayed. So just like you did that print or df dot head or something like that. So dot show is our function which can display the graph. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in the chat box. You can modify it and use it for the values that you have created. Whatever, if you have created something, or you can just try with this. It may be really thinking of doing too much. You can just plot this. Okay, so I'm just putting it in the chat box. So this is a very simple bar graph. You can change the numbers. You can do whatever you want. Okay. So just try this. I'll also show you other charts. Done now? Okay. Yeah, I can see. Okay, there. Yeah. Good. I'll show you some other charts as well. Just hold on. Let me run. Okay. 1 second. So I'm going to show you a pie chart, how it is drawn. Then we can do a lot of variations with that as well. So let me just share my screen. We'll also see another package, which is NumPy. So that is, I'm putting it here in the chat box. So NumPy is something with which you can do different kinds of mathematical operations. We'll see them, when we start doing our actual AI ML applications. Once we cover understanding data frames. So today we'll see this basics of also how to plot different kinds of charts and how to give the legend, all of these things. Still, we have not imported from any Excel sheet or CSV file. So what we'll do in the next class is to import from any CSV file or an Excel sheet. So what I'll try to do, what you can also do is, get some data set that you already have. Let's say you want to do some work at a later point of time using that particular data set. You can bring your own data set. You can try operating on that as well. How to read it and all, I'll show you. Otherwise, I'll have some standard files, which I'll again share it with you and we can try operating on that. Okay. So what I'll show you now is creating a pie chart. So let us say, these are some values just to understand how the graph looks like. I hope you can see the screen. So NumPy is another package. So why have I imported NumPy? Because I'm creating an array. This is just to show you what all you can do with different packages. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to really use these. Okay. Just for you to understand multiple options for doing different things. So we are creating an array and this is a pie chart. So I want to give some labels. So what we are saying is now I have created some array again, which I have called as my labels, and I am giving some labels to the different plots that I am, different parts of the pie chart. So let us say these are the marks that somebody has scored or whatever. This is the sale. Let us say the sales that somebody has done or whatever it is. So you can see here, let's say Tim has done 35% of the sales and Jill has done, so you see the total comes up to 100, right? You can see that the total comes up to 100. So if it is a sales in some company, so Tim has done 35%, Jill has done 25%, Jack is 25, Diana has done 15%. So we are trying to plot a pie chart. What are the values? The values are indicated in my data set, which is represented by Y. How did I get this Y? It is an array that I have defined. What are the labels? Labels, that is our keyword. My labels is something that I have created. You can change this name. You can also call it as my one, let us say. So this will also become my one. Just as an example, I'm showing you that it can be anything else. So that is your variant, okay? The variable that you have created. So I'm just going to share this in the chat box and you can try. Then we'll do a little more on pie charts. Try doing that. I'll share some other parts of the code as well. So I'll show you one more part now. That is in a pie chart. Okay, so let us say you want to show one piece of your pie chart separately. Okay, so that is called as exploding the pie chart. Okay, so I'll show that as well. How to explode? I'll again put the code in the chat box. Let me just share my screen. I show you first. I hope you can see. So you can see how there is a piece which has come out of the pie chart. So this is called as exploding the pie chart. So we have to tell which piece you want to explode and how this explosion can be done. So what is the keyword? Or rather, you can call it as anything. So I have called it as my explode. So you can again, let's say I call this as my 2 or explode 1, let's say. Okay. Explode underscore values, let us say. Okay, I will call it as explode underscore values. I'll use the same. So every time it is easy to create this and then use it in our the parameters that you want to specify. So you can see here explode values 0.2. So this represents for the first value that you have. All the rest are not exploded. So I'll also show you what the value means. Just hold on and use it. I'll show you what the value means for a pie chart, how to get these values and all of these things. I'll also show you how to change the color. Okay. So this is explode underscore values. When I run this, you can see I have two graphs. First one is just my ordinary pie chart, which you can see here. Then you can see the exploded pie chart. The first one that is represented by Tim has been exploded. So you can change this value. So let us say I make this 0.5. You can see that it has moved far away from this, right? So let us say for the last one, okay? So if I say for Diana, I give 2 and I run it again, I'll show you. So you can see the piece for Diana also has exploded. The piece for Tim also has exploded. So I'll just share that part of the code now.
Madam, what is that 0.5 indicates?
That is by how much that piece is getting shifted. That explosion I told you, no? I'll show you what, how those values are and what it represents, that I'm going to show you. But when you say 0.5, 0.2, it gives us the distance that your piece is moving away from the center of your pie chart. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've just put it. I'll give you the exact details. Just try that. I'll show you what it is and what it represents. Okay. Just try that. Yeah, okay, good. So I'll just show you where this explanation about. So Matplotlib in itself has a documentation. So let me just share that particular tab. So in this, they'll show you. So offsetting a slice with export. So what those values are, and you can also change the starting angle. I'll also show you a lot of other options that are possible. So in this, you will get that. I'll explain it, but for the time being, I thought I'll just show you. So I'll again put this in the chat box. So this is a direct documentation from Matplotlib. So I'm just again putting it in the chat box. So let us say now we want to put some legend, that is whatever we had, no, like blue is Tim and red is Diana, Jack is green. Let us say you want to put a legend. How to put that legend? I'll just put that. One second, I'll just run it and I'll share the screen. So I'm just sharing the screen, how to put the legend. Okay. I'll also put it in the chat box. So you can see here. Again, you can change the place and everything that we'll see later when it is required. I'm just showing you, what all you can do. So this gives us the legend. So blue is Tim, orange is Jill, green is Jack, and red is Dinah, whatever. So how to put that? Just one line, dot legend. Okay, so that is our keyword. I'm again putting it in the chat box. You can try that as well. I'll also send one more variation which you can try. The first one we did that list of countries and some numbers we had, no? So you did a plot plt dot bar. You can do a plt dot bar h. Okay, so that will give you a horizontal bar graph. You can just try that as well. Just replace bar with bar h. I'll also show you, let's say you want to change the color. Okay, so I'll also show you how you can change the color. I'll show you first one documentation and then I'll show you how to change the color. This one. Just okay. Just 1 second. I'll share that tab where you can get colors, and I'll show you how you can replace the colors. Okay. Mm. I'm sorry. I see extra legend showing up. How to get it? Legend must be, I think you've written twice. That's why, Mamta. If probably there is legend written twice. I don't know. How to get it formally means what?
I'll share my screen.
Yeah, please, please.
Is it visible now?
It is still loading. Yeah, it is loading. Where is the second legend?
This one.
Yeah, that is because we wrote plt.legend. No, that's why.
But it doesn't. It goes down.
No. You remove, no, that you should not remove. You remove this plt.legend, you remove. The last line you remove, it will go away. That you remove. And now you run. No, listen. That you remove. It went off, see? It will come only, no. You remove that plt.legend, that one you remove.
This one is still there. This will be still there.
That will be there. Yeah, that will be there. That's a part of the pie chart program itself.
So ID show should be where now? Like before this or after this?
Yeah, so whenever you want to see the graph, after you have given all the values, you need to write plt.show. Scroll down fully. Tell you, is there a second plot? Scroll down. There's only one. Okay. plt.show will be at the end. The last one. Yeah. Whatever you want to put, you put at the top. The last line would be your plt.show. So if you have two graphs, let us say you put two plt, first, like the way I showed, just 1 second. So let us say in mine, what I did initially, I showed an ordinary pie chart. So there was a plt.show. Then I wrote an exploded pie chart in the same cell. And again, I wrote plt.show. So then it will show both the graphs. So let me just show that again. So I'll just show you, wait. I have two plt.shows and it will show both the graphs. I'm just, understood? Yeah, I'll just share it. So you can see here, there is a plt.show here and there is a plt.show here. So the first one was for the ordinary pie chart. Next one was for the exploded pie chart. Okay. So if you show that multiple times, that is how it's going to be. Okay. So now what I want to show you is the list of colors. I'll just share that list of colors. So you can, I'll just scroll down. So this is again from matplotlib. So you can see here different colors. If you look at the bar chart that we saw, the default color is that blue which you saw, right? So some default colors will automatically pop up. If you want to change, then I'll show you the code how to change the color. So so you can see, I'll again give this link. You can, change, and you can also put color codes. I'll show you that as well. Yeah, I'll just put this in the chat box. So you can tell which color it is. So the code will start becoming longer and longer. You have to put more and more parameters within the brackets. But yeah, it's just good to know. I'll just stop sharing this. I'll put this in the chat box, and I'll also show you the code, how to put different colors. Okay. So if you want to put, just show. Oh, there's one more thing which I wanted to show, that is labeling the bar chart. Okay. So let's say in the same pie chart that we wrote, I'll just share my screen. Just hold on. I'm just deleting that legend and okay, I'm just sharing that tab where I can change the colors. Okay. I hope the screen is visible to you. So I'm just going to comment this explode and all. It's creating too many graphs. So I'll just remove that explode or whatever it is. I don't want this. So we have now labels. I called it as my one. I'll just remove all the unwanted things. Okay. So you see here, I have the data and I have my labels. Now I have changed the colors. So what are the colors now? So Tim will get black, Jill will get hot pink, Jack will get blue, Diana will get this color code. I'll show you from where you can get the color code. I've already run. Okay, the double graph is shown. So you can see here how it has actually changed the colors, right? So I'll just put that one line in the chat box, which you can try. I'll also show you how to get the color code. So let me put this whole thing. I'll also show you how to get the color codes. Yeah, put it in the chat box. I'm just sharing that screen. So you can see here the different color codes and how it is being displayed. You can also see the names that we have used. This is how it is. The same Matplotlib documentation itself. There is still a lot more to do. We've not done any calculation or any operation. Okay, so we've just seen this, but I'll just show you before we wind up some examples of how it works with our data sets. So like I said, in the next class, we'll read an Excel sheet. So now you've understood how data frames can be created, and so if for some reason you have numbers and you want to create your data frame, you are aware now how to create columns. You also know what happens if some values are not entered. We've also seen how you can check if there are no entries and how you can also fill any of these values, right? So what I'll do now is to share one example which I've already done, but I'll show you how it works for us to use Excel sheets which have proper data sets. So let me just. So this is a file which I already have, which is about Indian food. Okay, so there is a name for the dish. Then what are the ingredients and whether it is vegetarian, non-vegetarian. There's preparation time, there is cooking time, and what kind of a profile it's got, and what is the course, main course, dessert, which state and which region. Okay, so this is the data set that I have. So let's say I want to study this data set and do some kind of an exploratory data analysis, build some models and whatever it is. So what operations can we do in this? So what I've done, again, imported all of those things. So what we've done here is to compare preparation time with cooking time. So you see here, if it is bundi, then preparation time is more than the cooking time. So it gives us a rough idea of which takes how much time. Okay, so I'm just showing you an example. Now let us say you want the total time, that is including preparation time and cooking time. We have what are called as stacked graphs. So you can see in the stacked graphs, what it will do is it will add up these two numbers, and then you can get whatever is your total cooking time. Okay, again horizontal graph. Then you can get to know percentage of spicy dishes, sweet dishes, bitter, sour. So you can use a pie chart to do this kind of a representation. And here I've also used different shades of pink, wherein you can get to know which state, what kind of dishes, what is the percentage, what is being done. All of these things you should be able to understand. So what I did was just to show you an example of which tutorial, whatever I did today, that the Python file, I'll share it with you. All the examples that I did today, I'll share it. I'll send it across to did you all get that material that I sent across to IETE? I shared a couple of textbooks and my presentation and all. Did you all get that material? Okay, great. Yeah. So this Python file also, I'll send whatever examples we did just now. I'll send it across. So was it a little too much in today's class? I thought I went a little fast. So was it okay? Pace was okay, no? You could manage, right? Okay, great. So we are at about 4:50. So I hope you were all happy with the session. So are we good to break, or is it okay? Can we stop here? All right. Yeah, I think it's probably been a little too much for people. 3 hours of coding is indeed a little taxing. So only for Legend you didn't get output, is it? Oh, okay. I'll share the Python file. You can try it out. We'll see otherwise. You can always, you can check in Stack Overflow. You can just put your error in Stack Overflow and you can just check. All right. Thanks for attending, people, on a Sunday or 3-hour afternoon. So we'll catch up next Sunday. Okay, same time. All right. Have a great evening. Make the best of what is left for you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hello, madam. I'm audible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I didn't attend last week class.